So let's move ahead. So communication. We might be really good in our work unless we have an effective way to communicate what we have done. It's not going to have much of an impact. So today's session, we are not going to get into more of templates or some technical stuff. We're going to talk more on the mindset perspective and understanding different teams. These sessions are mainly intended to give you a food for thought, so that you can go ahead and take these concepts and implement in your own way. So the best communication I see is print ads. You see, they have only one opportunity to impress you, and there are some print ads which does wonderfully well in communicating their information. So whatever they do, be it technology, logistics, their their innovation, everything is hidden behind the plain sight, but they always focus on what is that end user would like to see, what is that end user interest is. Based on that, they try to project and show this ads, and this is what attracts the end user, this is what attracts the people, and they are driven more towards it. So now you want to take an essence of it and adapt it. No matter which company you're working for, ultimately you will be having a bigger impact. Be it retail, be it healthcare, banking, you might be doing performance testing at a very specific application or a team, but that will fit into the overall narration. And we have to figure out how we are making an impact to the overall company so that our information can be projected in multiple ways at multiple layers so it makes sense for everyone. So, moving on, so first let's understand what are the different types of stakeholders we have. There are internal stakeholders and there are some external stakeholders. So let's see overall part of this internal and external stakeholder side. Internal stakeholders can be anyone within the company. To start with, your performance testing team. This is your internal team, your team members who are all part of performance testing and engineering side. Going up the ladder, you will have a project team. Project team, you can think of any other QA team members or dev team or DevOps team, tech arc team, anyone who is part of your specific application. There will be someone who will be leading this team. So that's going to be your project manager. And after that, you have portfolio manager who handles multiple projects. Then you have your business team, and ultimately you have a client or a leadership at a very high level. You can think of any C-suite level or a VP or anyone at this level. So there are three stakeholders which are marked in different colors at the bottom. These are the one who I would like to say they're not too much interested in technical terms. So we'll call them as non-technical stakeholders for the rest of the presentation. Now we have an external stakeholders. External stakeholders can be anyone like an end user or any application which has any suppliers or contractors, any government related officials, authorities or a media, or even majority stakeholders. So anyone who is getting benefited out of the company. So for the scope of this presentation, since we'll be talking more about how we can present our performance testing results, we will be focusing more on our internal stakeholders. Moving ahead, whenever you run a performance test, probably this is what you would see in your load runner or performance center. A typical dashboard which has some of the statistics talking to you about your throughput, your response time, the UV user, and the transaction level information. So this is more like what we base our entire performance testing analysis on. So this is the test which tells us how the performance of the entire application is. But imagine if you take this information and give it to anyone else outside performance testing team. It's going to be a really difficult thing to understand for them. They will have no clue how to read these matrices, how to take the essence out of it. So it is more on our side to how we can simplify this information and present them well. In order to do that, let's understand the key stakeholders' roles which we have and what is that they would expect from any of our performance results. We have grouped all of them into majority of the roles we would normally see, starting off with your internal performance testing team, project team, you have project manager, you have portfolio manager, business team, and ultimately have a client or a leadership team. If you see in the following columns, we have concerns and what we have to present to them. So starting off with performance testing team. So this is your internal team. You may have multiple performance test engineers in your team. You may be doing multiple performance executions. Their concern would be mainly how did the performance test go? Did it go well or not? Is there anything I have to look into? Is there anything I need to report? So when you're talking to anyone within your team, of course, you're going to provide much more detailed performance testing execution and analysis report. When I say provide, it's more of for your internal discussion, or you may have a hierarchy where you may have a performance testing lead above you. So then you're going ahead and sharing anything and everything you have done for your performance testing. So the discussion would be around that, and combinedly, you will be creating a performance testing final results. Next, you have a project team. You can imagine anyone in the project to be in this, like any business analyst, development team, or any scrum master, or any additional QA team members, or tech art team. All of them will come under this. So their concern would be how the application performance is. Is there any issue? They would really want to know from you, how did your test go? What is that you have to share it back to them? When it comes to presenting information to them, you will have to modify your performance testing core results into highlighting the key performance indicators and any key observation you may have. And you have to answer some of the common questions. Be it, is it scalable? Are we at the maximum capacity? What is the break point for this application? Is infrastructure really stable? Or any steps we need to take, or any fine tuning or troubleshooting needs to happen for performance to be met? Are we meeting the SLAs? Everything will be discussed here. And then you have your project manager. Project manager, of course, will have multiple team members to look into, and project manager will be responsible to make sure the entire project is going well. So his concern would be mainly to know if the application is good or not. It's the combined application progress he will be more interested in. So when you're talking or presenting any results, you will have to remodify your information. Again, tone it down, only highlight a very high level performance report and any concerns you may have. And project managers are someone who are usually take much of a decision when it comes to any licensing or any infrastructure cost. So this is a good time to present if you need any additional help in terms of infrastructure improvements, or you have any additional budgeting to be considered. After this, we have a portfolio manager. So you will have multiple applications to deal with. You will have multiple project managers reporting to him. So he will not be concerned about one application. He'll be concerned about a group of applications. It could be a line of business or an entire portfolio. He would be more interested to know if everything is running fine and performance being a sub part of it. So the best way to present information at this level is maybe a one slide presentation where you would be highlighting more on the overview, the achievements you have done, any accomplishments, and the upcoming roadmap. Again, chances are you may not get a chance to even present something at this level and above. But if it ever happens, or if any of your project manager do go ahead, take some information from you and they try to present it in their slide, usually this is how the information flows. And then we have a business team. Business team are more interested to know how the end user behavior would be, if everything is going to be working fine when we're actually in the production. So they may be having multiple portfolios or line of business to deal with, and they will not have much interest to know what is happening in an individual application and the performance of that. So here they are more interested to know if everything is going good or not. It's more like a yes or no answer, maybe 2 to 3 lines at maximum, highlighting your achievements and accomplishments. In the previous step, you got one slide. Here you may get a part of a slide. And ultimately, we have a very high level leadership, or sometimes we may have some client. Let's consider them as a C suite level or a VP level. At their level, they're not even concerned about application performance or how the portfolio is doing. Their view would be more to understand how the entire company is doing. At this level, if you ever get to present any information, probably it will be if performance is good or not. It's just yes or no. I hope this slide gave you a little bit of insight into the different roles and what metric is good to be presented at those levels. So now let's look into, when we communicate the result, how our initial report gets transformed and translated to different teams. Just a disclaimer, I've just taken a sample input. This is not the entire performance testing results we normally create. This is just to give you a view of how information has to be translated and changed at each level. On the left side, you have performance testing team. Again, a typical execution snapshot you have. On the right side, you have a project team. So when you take that information from performance results, it's more useful if you translate it more into what you see on the right side, a list of transactions, how they are doing, has the performance improvised or degraded, what are any top concerns. So this is a talking point for you. You have to translate your information into this and go and talk to your project team. I would like to bring your focus on one other important point. On the left side, you have a green square. Let's consider as a pod, and let's consider that as a performance team. On the right side, you have a project team, and that has multiple pods of multiple teams. So as you can see, performance team is just a small part of the project team. Let's move on to the next slide. Here we are talking about how our information to be translated and presented to project manager. He may not be interested to know your performance improvement degradation in detail, what errors you are getting, what issues you are seeing, or what is the scalability factor, how the server metrics are. So what you would do is translate your information into maybe a single snapshot, or try to highlight something which is much more important. Here you want to give one view where things are much more easy, and you can present an overview which sort of give a comparison between individual execution over a period of time, just to give overall feel of how the performance is going. Again, based on the individual project, the need could be different. We are talking about more in generic, how from team to team the viewpoint is changed. And you can see, as we go from project team to project manager, our pod has become smaller because project manager may have single or multiple projects to deal with at a time. So we are just a sub part of his entire portfolio. So next, go on to the next slide. Here we are talking about a portfolio manager. So on the right side, we can see the portfolio manager would have a report or an information, something like this, where he'd be more interested. He will not be interested to know the exact performance statistics or any development related statistics. He will be looking into more of how my entire portfolio is doing, different applications are doing. Is everything going good? Is there any concern? Is something needs to be budgeted? Is something needs to need attention? That will be his focus. So as you can see, our performance results are not going to fit in as is into any of these reports. We just have to communicate how overall we are doing, or if we have any major accomplishment to showcase. And on the top, you can already see our pod is shrinking. Portfolio manager would definitely have multiple projects to deal with, so we will be a very smaller part in the entire portfolio. So here we have a business team. So the business team will be more interested to know if the business objective are met across applications. So their view would be how the entire teams are doing. They would not be interested to know technically where are the challenges. They would just want to know the overall status. And if there is something which cannot be accomplished and has a business impact, they would like to know and discuss about it. And typically, this is the conversation between a project manager or a portfolio manager and a business team whenever you have a major performance concern and any application is not meeting business objectives. Then usually we have to talk to a business team, get a sign off on maybe a revised SLA or a revised timeline so that it aligns well with their business goals. As you can see, they are more interested to know just the status. Their view would not include any information in detail, maybe a color coded just to keep them updated with how things are moving. And on the top, you can see business team will have multiple teams to look after. They would not be having much of an interest specific on the performance team. And our pod is almost disappearing at this point. And at last, we have the topmost leadership. Their interest would be more on how the company is doing. Are we meeting the targets? How are we doing with the revenue? How are we doing with our projection goals? Are all the stakeholders and shareholders are happy? So they have multiple things to look after, right from HR, recruitment to technology, media, real estate, and etc. So they will really not have waste too much time to understand any performance related information. So they do have a CTO who's a technology officer who sort of takes care of most of the technology side. But as you can see from the leadership view, we are pretty much negligible. We are in a pod somewhere in some application in the broader picture. So the performance results will not have major significance unless they do see a major performance issue in production. Companies like Amazon, Hotstar, we have seen have faced some level of performance issues. So this is how performance team comes into picture, because what we do in our own zone, in our own application could be very small. But when you look into the overall picture, that forms the company's reputation, the user experience, revenue, customer satisfaction, growth, everything is dependent on it. So it's really important to understand at high level where do we stand, which pod we belong to, what is that impact we have in our own project, in our line of business, and to the entire company. Key takeaway points whenever you have to present it to any stakeholders who are not technical, how can you convince them or how can you put forward your best information? First thing is to know your target stakeholders. Do understand where do they fit into the entire organization. It could be someone within your team, someone outside your team, a downstream application, or a third party application. So you really need to understand where do they stand in the hierarchy and how much technical information are they expecting, so that you can present the information in a more meaningful way. And second point is to reduce the tech jargons. Do not use any jargons very specific to performance testing. None of them will be aware of it, and throwing these jargons will make things more complicated, and they will not understand anything out of it. If you have to use it at some point, try to explain what the jargon means so that the communication is flawless. The third point is to translate your information and educate them. There could be some key metric which we have to present to show the impact. Then you can educate them what is this metric and how it is important for the overall application performance, and also encourage questions. Ask them if they would like to share any feedback. If they have any questions, you can help them understand better so that you have the communication barrier lifted. And the next point is to focus more on results. They would not really care if I say my stress test was this much, my GC, my query performance is this much, and our hardware is scalable, where our CPU is this many cores. So we have to focus more on the result. We have to say 1 month back, we were able to support, say, 500 users. With all the performance efforts, we are now able to support 1000 users. As simple as that. If we communicate, that's what they're really looking for. And we have to focus more on the results, more on how much more we can serve currently, and what is that impact we have, what is the stability we have overall. So that's going to be more important for you to present. And at the end, use visuals. As we talked in the initial stage, like print ads, One visual is enough to communicate thousand information. So use them very wisely and try to communicate your information in a snapshot. So it's more easier for them to keep track and also know how the performance of their application is as well. I hope this session was really helpful for you. Just brought in some level of thought. I've seen teams usually struggle when they have to present their information to the leadership. They don't know how to simplify it. According to them, most of the information is very important, but they would like to throw in all the information. But when it goes above certain level, it's not very approachable, readable by the users. So we really have to understand how we can simplify and present the right information and with maximum impact. Thank you so much for joining today. Um, sure, if you have any questions, feel free to comment that. That's the LinkedIn and AITP handle. Please go ahead and follow and send me a friend request. We'll be doing more sessions. So I would hope to see you again. Thank you. Thanks for your time. Take care.